What's going on? So today we're going to be changing the ball joints on the 2010 Grizzly 350, which this is going to be the same thing as like a Bruin 350. It looks just like it, but it is actually a Grizzly. Title and everything VIN reads as a Grizzly 350. Why Yamaha made a Grizzly and a Bruin at the same time that was exactly the same thing, not entirely sure. But I already did the other side the other day. Today we're going to be doing the right side of the machine. Here you can see the new ball joints, all sealed and pretty. And we have to get this ball joint off up here and the lower ball joint off as well. And to do this, we're going to start by removing the tie rod end, so taking the nut off of that, removing the bolt for the shock tower right here so we have more play in the control arm. We're going to undo this bolt here for the brake line, this bolt here for the brake line, and then undoing the two bolts holding the brake caliper just so we can take that, put it out of the way, because we will be removing the hub assembly right here. We're going to have to remove the dust cap to get to this nut, remove this nut as well, and then remove the castle nut that's underneath here for this ball joint, and the castle nut that's underneath down here for the lower ball joint. And then everything will be able to slide right off, and we'll be able to remove the ball joints, and then we'll just undo this retainer clip here, and then the retainer clip on the lower ball joint. But the lower ball joint is connected to the whole why can't I not think of its name, but I'll show you in a little bit. For now, let's just start taking everything apart, and I'll show you guys. These two bolts are going to be 10 millimeters, and then the two on the brake caliper are also going to be, are going to be 13 mil. But there is this dust cover or protectant plastic thing, whatever you want to call it, around the drive shaft boot. They just have to unclip and push out of your way. It'll be easier to get to everything. Wait, it's not 13 mil. I lied. It is 12. It's a 12 millimeter for the brake caliper. Also, if you need brakes changed, this would be a good time to do it as well if you're doing your ball joints. But these pads still have a little wear on them, or wear left on them, so we'll just set that aside. Alright, now we just gotta do the tie rod on this, and we should be good to go. So what I'm doing now is straightening out the cotter pins for the castle nuts, because if you don't, you won't be able to get the nut off. Now when you're taking out the cotter pins for the tie rod end and the drive axle shaft or CV axle, those you want to try and save. This one and the lower ball joint, the new ball joints come with new cotter pins, so I'm not too worried about damaging these, but it does make it easier to get them out when they're straight. There's going to be an O-ring right inside here. Just place it back in there so you don't lose it. Set it aside, and then all you gotta do is pop the nuts off, finish removing the joint assembly. And this is what I was talking about with the ball joint being attached to the hub assembly, which this isn't, it's kind of considered the hub assembly. But the lower ball joint is attached to this, so we're going to have to try and press it out, which is going to be, it's a little tricky because this guy is right in line with the lower ball joint, as you can see. So you can't get anything directly straight above it. But I'll show you guys how I do it because, like I said, it's a little tricky, but you can do it. This one is super easy to push in and out, so it's not an issue. And I recommend going out and getting one of these guys. This was $5 at your favorite discount tool store. So $5, comes with different attachments, does the job, gets the ring off, but we're not reusing any of these parts or the ball joint. So the tool I'm using is specifically made for ball joint removal for 4-wheel and 2-wheel drive vehicles. I've done enough ball joints where I went and purchased this tool. Now, I did get this again at everyone's favorite local discount parts store. It was about, I don't know, like 50-60 bucks after the, it was like 50-60 bucks after the discount or something like that, or I think there was even a coupon in the ad. So, as you can see, it's kind of not really on there straight, because this is the thing straight, and yeah, it's weird how it has to fit on there, but trust me when I tell you, it's going to come out. And that's how that ball joint comes out. See, this side, the right side of the 4-wheeler isn't as bad as the passenger side was. The ball joints, all the boots were cracked on the passenger side, or left side of it. I shouldn't say passenger. So on the left side of the 4-wheeler, the boots and everything were cracked and the ball joints had a lot more play. This side isn't as bad, but I figured, you know what, if I'm doing one side, might as well do the other. So then we just have to push the ball joint, the new one, back in on this side. And with that, I'm probably going to use my press and not the, and with that, I'm going to use my press and not the, this guy, which you can use this guy, but for how finagled it was to take out, it's easier to use a press or a, you can set this onto like a workbench like this somewhere with this cap underneath it. You can just pound it in with a socket, and I'm just going to use the press to do the same thing. It's just easier than pounding it, but I'll set up the camera to show you guys. So that's the hitting it with the hammer method. It does work because it has been pushing it in. You can kind of see it. It does push it in, but for a more precise, even transaction, the problem is this thing doesn't fit in here well, but it works. I'll show you. Because the cup is so the ball joint can be pressed in all the way. So the joint is pushed in all the way. As you can see, it's sticking out, so we can get that snap ring in place on this groove and it'll hold it. So let's go do the top ball joint and then throw everything together. is set. Ball joint is in, nice and stiff. Yeah, these old ones were pretty wore out. So now just got to repeat the process of taking it all apart and putting it all back together, and we're good to go. I'm gonna throw a little grease on the shaft here, and we'll be good. You got to worry about is when you're putting the castle nuts back on, you got to line up the hole with one of the openings in the castle nut so you can put the cotter pins back in. Alright, so I just wrapped up putting everything together. Got this bolt back in, got this one. The caliper is all bolted in, nice and tight. And all the other bolts are in, cotter pins, ball joints, and it's very stiff now. Because if you can't already tell, this is the four-wheeler that has the plow on it. And yeah, I didn't feel like taking the plow off when I decided to do this project. But this is all wrapped up, just gotta throw the wheel back on. And call this project done. That's how you change the ball joints on a 2010 Yamaha Grizzly 350, or it's like a 2000 to 2000, probably like 12 Bruin and Grizzly 350s, and probably other four-wheelers. They're going to be very similar to this. You just push out the old ball joint, put it in, put the new one in. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, especially if you're into four-wheelers and how to work on them, because I have another four-wheeler that I'm going to be working on, changing the tires, rebuilding a brake caliper, that all fun stuff. So I'm always working on something new. But otherwise, I will catch you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.